Hi, this is Told. Welcome, and today we're looking at a little bit of some birdie birds. So I've been working on a bird deck. I got another one as well, but this one is a little bit special. So I was thinking about it, and building around the temporary lockdown and seeing, because a lot of the birds are kind of expensive, and there's some cheaper ones and stuff, but they're not as good. But we found out, like we saw in the cave hopping deck, that the strike force is really good, and that's where I kind of learned about this card, was in the testing of the bird deck. It's a really great card, and if you can able to give it some pumpability. So, and probably in a different type of deck, we might build around this card again. But, uncommon, 2 or 3 mana for a 1/3 with double strike and flying and vigilance. So it's not only attacker that has evasion, but it's also a great blocker as well, since it has extra toughness. So definitely going to build around that some more. But yeah, so the idea is temporary lockdown. All of our spells are 3 or more. There's a few things that make tokens, like the Aether Channeler and Biza. And sort of the veteran. That being said, I don't know if we have any soldiers. Doesn't look like it. Bird Scout and Season of Burrow can do it as well. Yeah. So the idea is lock down the opponent's stuff, and then we're gonna play our birds. So we got the Bloom Creed Mentor. 1 mana, 1 white, 1 blue, 2/3 fly, and Bird Scout. And when another creature you control, when this creature or another creature with flying enters, you put a +1/+1 counter on target creature without flying. So that's kind of the complexity of birds. So the best thing to put a +1/+1 counter on, probably Biza, right? But we also have the Sheriff of Safe Passage that can get +1/+1 counters. We got the Siege Veteran that'll accept them. And we got the Aether Channeler and the Werefox Bodyguard, are just a few creatures that can accept those tokens, right? And we're going with, the Siege Veteran to help us pump up the strike force, right? So that's kind of why that's in there. Aether Channeler, just like all around great card. Mostly in there for the Salvation Swan with the blink ability. So whenever the swan enters or a bird you control enters, you exile 1 target creature. Without flying, you return it to the battlefield with a flying token on it at the end step. So that's a way for us to blink the Aether Channeler. So like if we're returning a non-land permanent to a person's hand, or we're drawing a card, and then we'll get to blink it and do it again. But then once it gets flying, we could return it to itself to your hand, right? Return another target. So you can't return itself, but you could return like something else that you gave flying to that you'd want to blink, like Biza, for example. But normally you're just looking to double up on that ability, or even like the Werefox Bodyguard. We could pick it up with the exile and then drop it back down and maybe take up a new target, right? Type of situation. Some other birds to talk about. There's a lot of new ones. I don't think this deck could function without Bloomburrow. Castrel, the Winded Crested. 3 mana, 1 white, 1 blue, 4/5, Bird Scout. When one or more birds deal combat damage to a player, you get to choose one. You could put a bird from your hand onto the battlefield with a finality counter. Not the greatest option, but an option that possibly could have. Put a +1/+1 counter on each bird you control. Pretty great option in certain scenarios. And draw card is probably the one that we're most interested in about. So this does have some great synergies with the strike force, right? So if the strike force attacks in, it has double strike. So it'll attack and hit the opponent for damage. You'll get to choose one of these things. Maybe put a +1/+1 counter on a bird. And then the second part of the double strike hits, the second attack. So it could do you could do 1 damage with the first attack and then 2 damage with the next one. So they could do 3 damage just by putting that +1/+1 counter. And then you could either put some more +1/+1 counters, or you could draw cards, you know, whatever you need to do. And, you know, that's when all our birds attack, right? Like the Aether Channeler can make birds. That's what it's in there for. You know, we have the Aven Interrupter, you know, to try to slow the opponent down a little bit, since we are a little bit slow on the 3 mana race. And we're building up type of thing to try to get to 6 maybe. We do have the Patchwork Banner in there to choose birds and to add a little bit extra mana and help us with that ramp. And like I said, the Reformer for the Hexproof, you know, just to try to stop down the opponents. We got 1 season of the Burrow in there, mainly for the exile non-land permanent. Its controllers draw us a card is fine, so we get to do 2 of those, make a rabbit. But also, level 3 is really good. Return a permanent card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield with an indestructible counter on it. So, Strike Force being indestructible is a pretty good idea. You know, maybe even the Siege Veteran, or, you know, any one of these, you know. Reformer with indestructibility, probably the best thing to pick. They'd have to exile it or remove it some other way. Pretty good. But yeah, that's a deck. Got 1 Fun Support, 2 Fabled Passages. And that's it. So let's get in some games, see how we do. See if birds can work on the ranks. Surveil, Fable, Patchwork Banner, no non-flyers. That's a good one. Yeah, that's a good card. Stock in the Pantry. I've done some preliminary testing with it. Ooh. You get a thing. So you get a supply counter whenever you put a +1/+1 on a creature you control, right? And then you pay 2 to remove like a counter from it. So it's like it's always gonna get a counter, right? What's the biggest damage? I mean, you could wait with the Avian Interrupter, right? Or you could get lost that Warden. That's cool. Yeah, spell. Greedy. Oh, you're just gonna draw? Is that what you're doing? Seems right. I'm gonna Patchwork Banner. Wow, and you're holding the land? Wow. Oh yeah, playing shocks, huh? That's interesting. Maybe we need to get lost that thing. Maybe we need to get lost that thing. Yeah, that thing needs to go. That thing needs to go. Whenever it becomes a target of spell, you look at the top 5. If it's your turn, you may put it onto the battlefield if it's your turn, right? Like, if you're playing damage spells, that's cool. Although we did give him map tokens, which means he can get +1/+1 counters in a variety of ways. This is to any target. I mean, I guess you can kill the Reformer. That's a good deal. Well, you should have kept that on top and did it one more time. Ideally, I would draw a land. Oh no, I don't even need to draw into a land. Just do this on my turn. You're not a bird? Oh, you're a Cleric Angel. Dang it. 3. Definitely don't want to lose that. This is 3, right? I really want to draw though. Oh, let's do this. Whenever one or more birds. Oh, so it's not even creatures with flying. Put a bird from your hand. What is this? Oh, that's gonna be rough. So we need to get the strike force out. Need another land. Okay. As long as the reformer lives, he can't target me. That's weird. Why would you put it there? For the ward? Yeah. Well, that's perfect, right? Isn't it? Strike force. Attack. Strike force. Plumpkin. Yeah, nothing without flying. That's the problem, right? Like with the bird deck. Cause you need those non-flyers. Ooh, that's a good one. He's drawing so many cards. But is he dead? 4? 10? 11, 12? Put a +1/+1 counter on each bird you control. So the double strike hits first, and then you put +1/+1 counters. So he's technically dead. But he can't remove any of my creatures. Here it is. Level up. Ooh, baby. I don't know what they were doing, why they're distributing so many counters, but need that 3rd mana, but and need a white source as well. And yeah, 4th mana actually. Otters, it's pretty good. Take it. Strike force, we don't need a 3rd one, I don't think. Although otters could have removal spells. Would we temporary lockdown that? Or we take the risk? Let's take the risk. I'm feeling risky. At least one turn. Try to get him to develop the board some more. Yeah. Not as good as I was hoping. Not as good as I was hoping, but I'll keep it, I guess. Do we Biza? Gain that life back? Oh, stop casting spells. Get out of here. You're spell casting. Your 5 damage spell, huh? That's pretty good. Is this treasure? Bird? That way it gets pumped up, so like if they do have that spell. I mean, can we kill them in time? I could return that permanent to indestructible. Maybe. I guess we'll do this. You know, then we just get another counter on Biza. Okay. Patchwork banner. You don't have any birds. Using the bird spell on the bird man? Get out of here. Can't use the bird spell on the bird man. Yeah, I guess so. Surveil first. Try to get that land. Land it is. Perfect. No lockdown. We do have a bodyguard. We do have some non-flyers this time. I don't even know what to say about that. What to go with first, huh? What do I want to die? Well, I guess since we have 2 strike forces... they're playing food. Greta. And no more land. That sucks. Do we keep the Werefox bodyguard up for protection? Wow. That's pretty good. Might as well swing in, right? I'm not blocking Greta with that. And put a counter on target creature. So we'll need this Get Lost. And this Bodyguard. All in the same turn with 3 mana. This is a pretty good card to put out. Makes a good blocker. What they should do is put the +1/+1 counter on the Mentor. They didn't do it. Because you have to activate it at sorcery speed. Bristlebud. That's 5. The Duelist is pretty good too. Maybe Werefox Bodyguard on their turn. Just put this here. And then stop before next combat. I think so. Okay. That was weird. Really weird. Why are you playing that card? I don't understand it. Well. Double strike and flyer. It's just that easy. That's what it does. And we're back. Performed really well. I really like it. We got the numbers dialed in. Like originally when I started testing out birds, and blue-white birds to be specific. I had 4 Beezas in there and, you know, a couple Swans, and I didn't have the Castrol Wind Crested, but this card is really good card advantage, and just to put +1/+1 counters. That one game where you just add to that counter from that double striker, Strike Force. That's the all-star of this deck. Yeah, so I built this deck around Temporary Lockdown, you know, and it works out pretty good. You're able to, you know, you're kind of more of a mid-rangey deck because all of your spells are 3 and higher, which is something I've never really did before. I mean, you got some Get Lost in there, but those, you know, tokens get cleaned up by the Temporary Lockdown, hopefully, so you're, you know, utilizing that to your perfection. Yeah, what else could I say? Maybe I could use like a little bit more ground troops, but I don't know what you squeeze in. You know, you got the Sheriff, the Veteran, the Aether Channeler, and Biza. And then especially, like, these are all like to be blinked. I mean, maybe not the Veteran, but all these like to be blinked to get flying on them, especially like the Sheriff. If you've, you know, got it out early and you develop the board, and then you could blink them and get them even stronger and put flying on them. And then obviously the Aether Channeler, you get to redo the abilities, and Biza gets a double trigger, you know, so that's really great. Yeah, the Reformer is a pretty good card. I had it in there to shut down the Veraska instant win combo, just in case I ran into that, but I didn't see that at all. But I'm finding that there's a lot of other things that it shuts down. There's a lot of things it doesn't shut down because it says opponents or each opponent or, you know, like type of situation. But there are a few things that it shuts down that's really nicely, you know, like the Landfall Lizard, you know, where it says target opponent. Some of the, you know, discard decks, you know, all their spells are like target opponent, right? Probably even Lily, I think. Target player sacrifices a creature, so they can't use that ability on you. Each player discards, they could do it, and then they could ultimate, but they won't be able to use that targeted ability. And then target opponent, duress. This says each opponent, so you don't get hit by that, which sucks. And then target player, each discard a card, and then target player, so it shuts that down. Binding negotiation, target player. The bandit's talent doesn't get shut down because it says each opponent, and then the second level is each opponent as well, so you don't get around that. Rush of the Dread, target opponent, target opponent, target opponent. Totally shuts down that combo. Each opponent doesn't shut down. And each player. And it doesn't shut down the Painful Quandary, which we found out in that one game. I don't know if I cut it or not. Oh, and the Rottermull Viper doesn't get shut down either because it says each opponent loses life. Each opponent, yeah. But yeah, pretty surprising, you know, doing pretty good on the ladder, you know, in this aggro meta, you know, having 4 copies lockdown and some Get Lost to take care of stuff. A little bit of hexproof goes a long way. So this has been Told. Like and subscribe. See you next time.